This report should also provide the leitmotif for the rolling out of improvements to military mobility in Europe. Both hardware and software must be improved. Investment in suitable infrastructure, a sort of military Schengen. At the very heart of this programme, we have more than ever coordination and cooperation between member states. Colleagues, the train is now on the tracks, but the station isn't in sight. A great deal remains to be made. Talks when it comes to the implementation of the military mobility package and essential regulation. I do hope that we can count on your support for this report, which is an important next step on this road.
Dear colleague, my next speaker is... Sorry? Okay. Mr. Caffon. Monsieur Caffon.
Monsieur le Président.
President, Commissioner, colleagues. People often say that if you want peace, prepare for war. And here, in practice, it's the opposite. By investing 17 billion euros in wartime logistics, we will also be very much improving day-to-day mobility for all European citizens. 99.9% of the time we're at peace. So sometimes we have bridges and tunnels which need maintenance. We need to repair them. Sometimes we could have a shorter journey time for passengers and more capacity for rail freight. For our armed forces, what this should mean is more large aircraft, more healthcare wagons, more helicopters. And that will also be something that could be useful if we have flooding or pandemics or major forest fires, things that could help to get our firefighters, our doctors and our medicines to where they need to be. But we're still just at the bottom of the hill and we need to open our eyes. Not a day goes by without our control towers or lookouts or signalling systems being subject to attack. In 2024, France picked up on over 4,000 cyber attacks, with transport being at the top of the list of sectors targeted. So in the future, for European legislation, I will be hoping to see that our signalling, our trains and our aircraft will be made in Europe. And I want to ensure that we make progress. We cannot just leave these things in the hands of a foreign power. So we need to ensure that the control of signalling is in our hands. And we also need to ensure that with a simple decree, member states can take back control of their ports, as with Antwerp or other ports which have been abandoned. We need to take back control of our infrastructure. Thank you.
My next speaker is Mr. Holvani.
Biztos úr, tisztelt képviselőtársaim!
Commissioner, colleagues, we ought not allow for a war logic to really guide and determine the future of this continent. Of course, it's extremely important for our strategic goals to be reached, but this particular report that we're in the course of dealing with right now, it goes against the interests of the people of the European Union, because money, simply giving out money to the Ukrainian war machine is not the way to go. For all of that to come out of the EU budget without any sort of guarantee whatsoever. And furthermore, we see that the leading politicians in Europe are generating this war narrative. This goes against logic and reason. European citizens are angry and disappointed that leading politicians here in Europe are moving in that particular direction and have that orientation. We ought not create this precedent. A precedent would lead to the entire financial system of Europe being undermined by this type of funding. The politicians that are on the side of war, they want that our policy ought to lead us towards war preparedness, but this is unacceptable. We don't need any escalation. We need peace on the continent, and we have to focus on our own defense industry, that it ought to deal with protecting the continent, but we ought not to make this particular war logic undermine the future of our continent. Thank you.
te dire déjà, c'est un ensemble délégué qui a pu défiler sous podium non, en soutien à pays Ukraine, mais gagné certains là-dedans qui gagnent position contraire par rapport à disposition que la Commission Union Européenne prend pour capable discuter support financier à pays Ukraine dans le cadre des combats que y a et citoyens autorités depuis environ 4 ans face à la Russie de Vladimir Poutine. Nous avons retourné au studio pour que nous capables permettre tout en dire quelques notes de musique. Je dis c'est mardi, pas oublier ça non. Spécial journée des enfants du réseau Pstars. Eh bien, on même qui est petit tout connaît, qui fait partie du réseau ça, on connaît. Je dis un séjour par séjour que nous passons avec eux, séjour que nous prions pour eux depuis le matin. Et jusqu'au soir, nous avons fait ça. Nous permet tout également. Tandis